Welcome to Pieces for My Puzzle. I'm your host, Nikki Shipp, and I'm excited to be sharing with you my life with a son on the spectrum. This podcast is for anyone who is looking for quick tips and perspective, but most of all, for hope and inspiration. So sit back, relax, and let's put the pieces together. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Pieces for My Puzzle. I'm your host, Nikki Shipp. Thank you so much for joining us today. Last week, we had the great pleasure of speaking to Dr. Roz, who does all things in the name of love. If you didn't get a chance to check out that episode, please do. We had a wonderful conversation about her love revolution and her debt-free degree program. I completely admired her commitment to education, being accessible and affordable for all populations and demographics. So thank you again, Dr. Roz, for being on the show. I really enjoyed our conversation. Today, I'm especially excited to have Miss Ashlee Dollar on the show. Ashlee is an educator, autism advocate, and founder of Dare to Be Academy, a groundbreaking school designed to empower neurodiverse learners. With over a decade of experience in K-12 education and as a mother of two autistic children, Ashlee combines her professional expertise and personal journey to create a safe, inclusive space where every child can thrive. Her mission is to nurture individuality, curiosity, and confidence in students while supporting families navigating the challenges of special education. Please welcome Ashlee to the show today. Thank you so much for being here, Ashlee.
Thank you for having me, Nikki.
Know.
That intro, as I was listening to it, first of all, I never expected an intro to sound like that, referring to me, but it was really heartwarming.
Okay.
Like it touched my heart.
Well, you deserve it because
you're
doing really great things, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to have you on the show today. Because when we met, I think we met at an expo.
We met at the Autism Expo.
That's right,
April.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And when we met, I knew that I wanted to have you on the show. When Tyler was like, "You need to talk to her," I was like, "I need to have you on the show because you're so inspiring what you're doing, and I admire you so much for that." So I'm so excited to have you on today.
Thank you.
Truly, truly. I'd like to start off with just by you telling our listeners today about your journey and kind of what led you to start Dare to Be Academy.
So, as you mentioned, I am a career educator, music educator specifically,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to school for all the things.
Yeah.
Bachelor's, master's. Being a music educator was the career trajectory
Mm-hmm.
for the long run. Fast forward to 5 years ago, my children and I relocated to Arizona, and I was working at a elementary charter school.
Mm-hmm.
And it was there that the inspiration, unbeknownst to me, that it would begin at that
Mm-hmm.
school. We were still navigating. When I first started at that school, neither of my children were diagnosed.
Okay.
When we moved here, they were 3.5 and 1.
Okay.
So they were still very young. And I noticed some, I guess, differences, but because it was all that I knew, I didn't think that, I'm like, well, they're just extra quirky or whatever.
Maybe they'll outgrow it.
Or parenthood is just this hard.
A phase being a parent
Exactly.
is hard.
That's honestly what I thought. It's just like, it's just really hard. This is just how it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just hard. So that being said, when I was doing K-8, I did notice, so at that school, let me give more specifics. I was teaching middle school drama and choir, but I was also teaching K-3 music.
Okay.
Now, how that works is that I ended up seeing over 500 students per week.
Oh my gosh.
And it's because with each elementary grade, there's 4 classes. So if it's about 25 kids in each grade, that's going to be 400. And then with the middle school kids, that was about another 100.
Oh my gosh.
So that's a lot, right?
That's a huge workload.
However, all that being said is that during that time, I was collecting data.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it. I was collecting data. And it was during that time that my daughter was diagnosed with autism, a few months into being into kindergarten.
Okay.
Very high needs at that time. And so with me advocating for her, getting her what she needs with her IEP and, for whatever else, having an ABA therapist come in.
Yeah.
I became more sensitive to the needs of students who were neurodiverse, students who look like my kid.
Yeah.
And so it's because of that I began to observe a lot. And in the 3 years that I was at that school specifically, I observed that the neurodiverse population was exploding. Mm-hmm. Every year there was more and more students, some of which weren't even diagnosed.
Right.
But you knew that they needed extra support. Mm-hmm. And so again, during that time, I wasn't even thinking about a micro school. I just knew that the way that the traditional school model was, it wasn't going to be able to serve these kids.
Right.
And so anyway, so I shelved that, right? And then I moved on and I taught high school for about 1.5 years at another school in the area. And these are great experiences that I've had at these schools.
Right, of course.
But during that time, my son was also ready to start kindergarten. And so at that point, we were able to find a special needs school for them to attend. And I am forever grateful for that opportunity for them to attend that school. And it was a good fit until it was no longer a good fit.
Right.
And so in that time, and this is going to be last semester, maybe about October. Actually, it was October. And I remember I was getting my kids from the van that would drop them off. And it dawned on me, and I was like, I need something different. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
I'm the sole parent to my children, and what am I going to do?
What's
I'm the provider. I'm the everything. How do I make it so they have the educational experience that I know that they need and that I want them to have? Mm-hmm. And then I kid you not, and I know that this was the voice of the Holy Spirit. It was, just start your own school. Literally like that. It wasn't anything
simple.
Like super.
Just start your own school.
Just start your own school. And then I was like, why don't I start my own school? I mean, here I am, career educator, all the credentials, all the things, all the experience, and I'm an autism mom. Like, who better than me, right? So I called my sister and I told her about it. She was like, Ashlee, this is it. This is for you. This is what the Lord has for you. And so we fasted and prayed about it that weekend for confirmation, and confirmation right after that. And so it was then in October of 2024 that I just got busy. And so, yes, while, I have these credentials and degrees and experience, I'm humble enough to know that I don't know everything.
Right.
And so I was looking for different organizations and associations having to do with, starting a micro school. I contacted a friend of mine who has a coaching business to, help me do the logistical LLC side of the school and business type stuff. And so I was just reaching out to whoever could help me or, could share resources. Yeah.
And
while still working full time.
Setting up all that operational stuff was like, just overwhelming.
Yes.
I mean, I would feel like it would be amazingly overwhelming.
Yeah. So, and all this while still working full time.
Yeah.
As a music educator and privately. I also teach private lessons. So I was doing all the things. When was I sleeping, right? Never.
I know.
So anyway, I did that. I remember I gave notice when I decided that I was going to do my pilot semester in January of 25. Mm-hmm. I notified the school that I was at in November to, try and give at least like 2 months
notice.
To find somebody for sure. And then I was like, I'm just going to go for it. And this is after being encouraged by some other micro school founders that I had met at, I think it's the National Microschooling.
Okay. So like an association?
There was a conference in Vegas that I had attended. And so I'm talking to everybody. I don't know when to launch. I don't know. And they're like, just start.
Yeah.
And so that was the confirmation and the encouragement that I needed to just go for it. And so I did last semester. We have our first official semester coming up here. Our first day is August 4. And I'm super excited.
Oh my gosh.
I'm super excited. So
you have to be so proud of what you've created.
I'm humbled to have been chosen to do this.
Yes.
This is a very, I'm not going to cry today. I'm not going to cry.
It's okay. Lots of people cry on my podcast.
It's a very high calling.
Yeah.
And that's not lost on me. And so regardless of all the things that I know and all the experience, and I'm in autism, this is the high calling.
Yeah.
These children, all children are precious in the sight of the Lord, but these in particular, and I think I sent this in the notes, one verse that is really pivotal for me and encouraging to me and kind of like a theme for what I'm doing is Matthew 24:40. And it's when Jesus said, whatever you've done to the least of these, you've done to me. Okay. And so taking care of those in need, giving to those who need, supporting those in need, this is like you helping me. And so it's a high calling. Yeah,
it's a high calling. It's a tall order.
Yes.
But I do believe that these things happen, but it was meant for you. Like there's no discrepancy and I even feel that way about my own son, Drayson. I tell people all the time about the therapies, the structure, all the things that you have to set up and I'm not even starting a school.
Yep.
Like I'm not, but it's a tall order. But I do believe he was given to me for a very specific reason. And I'm sure you've learned so much from your children and the neurodiverse community in general that you walk away from those experiences and you're like, wow, this is so much bigger than me. And to be a part of it is such a rewarding experience, I feel. So tell us a little bit about Dare to Be Academy. Like, I'm so excited to hear about all of this, but for those our listeners today, I want them to hear about what Dare to Be Academy is all about.
So essentially what I did with Dare to Be Academy is I created an educational environment that I knew would be optimal for my children, whose brains function differently, and then offer that to parents and families for whom it'll also benefit, right? So everything isn't for everybody.
Right.
So one of the really important things to me was to have a really warm environment, a very comfortable, inviting environment. So it's a home-based microschool.
Okay.
And, while structured, if a student needs to sit on the couch and like do their math or whatever, they can. Right. It doesn't have to be as rigid as a traditional model.
Like sit at your desk or
right.
Yeah.
Which doesn't work well for any kids, to be honest. But
it doesn't work well for me.
No. Right. And so it's definitely not going to work well for a neurodiverse kiddo.
Yeah.
Whose mind is all over the place trying to focus on everything.
Yeah.
And so having an environment where they can feel calm, where they can feel collected, where they can be and feel seen, supported, celebrated, that was really important to me. So everything down to how the learning space is structured, to the color scheme that I used. It's still colorful, but it's muted. So as not to overstimulate them. Exactly.
Yeah.
We have sensory items, a swivel chair and a sensory swing, and we have the earphones and the weighted vest, just everything that they need to succeed in that space. So that's what the physical space looks like. What I wanted the day to be conducive to structure, for sure, but also plenty of time for them to socialize and learn real world skills, real life skills.
Yeah.
Especially social emotional learning. That is huge.
It's so important, and it's so needed in my opinion. Yes.
Because you have kids who like maybe gifted, maybe they're in 10th grade learning calculus, but they can't have a conversation. Right? They don't know how to advocate for themselves or how to say, thank you, but no thank you. No, I don't want this. They don't know how to share.
Yeah.
They don't know how to take turns.
Yeah.
So, and not just neurodiverse kiddos, just people in general. A lot of people don't know how to people.
Right.
So social emotional learning is huge where we are.
And I know they've had that written, I know schools have that written in their curriculum, but I have always felt like it needs to be more robust than what it currently is.
Absolutely.
Looking at some of the goals that Drayson had with social emotional, they were good and it was a good starting point, but the level up I couldn't get the level up when he was at his other school before we, took him and put him in a different school. And part of the reason why I picked that school was because of that social emotional learning. It just seemed more robust. And do you find that you see that kind of across the board within traditional education, that section isn't maybe as amplified as it should be for everyone, like you said? Because I feel like it's not just neurodiverse kids. I feel like everybody could benefit from more
Absolutely.
social emotional education.
So what I've seen, so first I want to say that through my time of teaching, every teacher that I've worked with or at least had close communication with,
Yes.
we shared students, they've all been worth their salt.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and
so,
no insult
Right.
whatsoever to educators on what I'm saying.
No, I know. I'm just
yeah.
saying, I just want to say that because I think some
Yeah.
people may see and feel like if you're doing something alternative, it's because something's wrong with the teachers.
Right. No,
it's not,
I don't
It's
feel
not
that
the
way, yeah.
teachers or even some of the admin, it's the model.
It's that, I feel that way. Like
it's the model.
I always,
right.
my heart always went out to the educators and the staff because I knew that they were limited in what was structured for them.
Absolutely.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Because, a lot of them have to teach to the test.
Yes.
And
they do.
different, standards and compliances and things like that really don't allow for the flexibility needed for students who function differently.
Yeah.
Even if you're not
Yeah.
neurodiverse, everyone is a fingerprint.
Yeah.
Everyone's different.
Right.
So they need different things. But the model doesn't allow for that type of flexibility.
Yeah.
So I've always seen teachers, encourage social emotional learning. We're always teaching character and kindness and those things. But I feel like with the way that traditional school schedules are, they're just so
Yes.
very jam-packed, one. And then two, it doesn't really allow for children to practice social emotional learning. And what I mean by that is that you're in the class, okay, we're doing work, okay, be quiet. Okay, line up outside, okay, be quiet. Okay, we're in the lunchroom, okay, be quiet.
Yeah.
You're walking back to the class, okay, be quiet. When are you going to have a chance to talk and practice?
They're not allowed to speak.
They're allowed to speak and talk or do anything. And so, when they're at recess.
Kind. But be kind.
Exactly.
Be nice to each other. Be
Yes.
kind, but don't talk. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think, again, in that model, it doesn't allow for them to practice.
Yeah.
So they're being told what to do,
Yeah.
but they may not have an opportunity to practice it or to see it in practice, even, with teachers modeling it, just because of how the day is structured.
Yeah, it's just
So it doesn't allow for
structured.
that. And then also because, and we know this, the classes are so overpopulated and jam-packed. You have, in a good class, you'll have 25 kids, right?
Yeah.
But now classes 30, 35 kids, and you'll have one
Yeah.
solitary adult in there with them. You may
Yeah.
have an aide if you're fortunate in that school, but still 2 to 35,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
That's a lot.
And kids are needy.
I just spoke to a friend of mine the other day who she's getting ready for her class to start here in a few weeks. And she told me she was excited that she got the roster because she only had 23 kids.
Yeah.
And she was like, I don't
That's
know.
awesome.
Like she considered that small. And I thought, and it's just her. So I thought, oh my gosh. And so she was like, yes, I only got 23 kids. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's got to be rough.
Yeah.
So tell me, did you face any hard challenges setting up Dare to Be Academy? Like what challenges do you feel like you've faced and how have you overcome them?
So the challenges I faced was essentially wearing all the hats.
Yeah.
And trying to do everything essentially by myself, right? So I did reach out for resources, and there are different associations and individuals and other microschool owners that I've hooked up with. But in terms of like just building this was me, while being a full-time parent to both my neurodiverse kiddos, while teaching full-time.
Throw that extra hat in there. Yeah.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
I cried a lot. I did. You just get overwhelmed.
Hey,
and me, I'm neurodiverse. I'm a late diagnosis, right? And so, or a late diagnosed neurodiverse person. And so I understand myself a lot better now. I understand my kids make a lot more sense now.
Right.
But even in that, I know that I get overstimulated and I get overwhelmed.
Yes.
And so I cry. I've
joked around on the show before. I know I've said it
come out
before
for
on
me.
the show, but there's been plenty of times where I'm I joke around about, oh no, I'm the one in the corner in the fetal position rocking myself crying to death because, you've got to go through those waves of emotion. But I think that it's great though, that even though you cried a lot, you still knew what the mission was for you. Like it didn't deter you to want to give up or deviate from what you felt your calling was.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's so wonderful that you recognize that, because
Absolutely.
sometimes it's hard, it's difficult for people to keep moving forward.
Yes.
And it's very, very, to develop the courage and the confidence that you have to do something like this is so admirable. And that's why, I say that to you because, I felt that way even developing this podcast, which is a much smaller scale compared to what you've done with Dare to Beat Academy. But even setting up this podcast, because to be that voice to help families and to do, encourage and stuff, it takes a lot of confidence and courage to do something like that. And I can very much see how your children were your driving force for that. So now how you have a boy and a girl.
I do.
Okay, and how old are your kids now?
Cookies. So my daughter is 9 and my son will be 7 in a week and a half.
Okay.
So yes, they're very much so the driving force for the school. So even in times where I'm like, I don't want to do this. This is too much. I'm tired. Like it's too much.
Yeah.
I can't not do it.
Right.
I have to do it.
Right.
Because it's for my kids.
Right.
Because our community, as far as I know, doesn't have options like this for neurodiverse kiddos. And so by me doing this for my kids, I'm also doing it for kids like my kids.
Right.
So I call my kids my babies, right?
Yes.
And so any children that are like my kids, they're also my babies.
Yeah.
So I'm doing this, I'm doing this for them.
Right.
Because they need it. Because the parents need it. The parents need this option. The families need it. And also, this is in some ways helping to heal my inner child.
Yeah.
Because I needed this school when I was growing up and struggling with certain things and didn't know quite how to put it into words. So I didn't put it into any words. Yeah. Didn't know how to advocate for myself and what I needed. And so, it's just, it's a need. So I can't not do it.
Right.
I'm happy to do it.
Right.
And I feel humbled to be chosen for this mission. It is difficult, but not doing it is not an option.
Well, and I'm sure you've already seen so much reward from it. So the rewards of seeing the results and seeing things come to fruition, I would think that is probably one of your driving forces too. I mean,
absolutely.
I would keep me going, because that, to wake up every day and sometimes go, okay, I don't feel like doing this. Like it's such a normal human response, right? But to push past that and realize the bigger picture, like I always say, it's not about me. It's not about, it's not only just about Drayson. It's about, in my opinion, for me personally, anyone who's neurodiverse, because I want to be able to help and make that impact, even if it's just in a small way.
Absolutely.
And I think what you're doing, because you're in an area where there's not a lot of accessibility. There's no school in your area for neurodiverse right now.
So the way Maricopa is that we are kind of like a little oasis.
Yes.
And so we sit between two tribes.
Right.
And so on past the tribes, we're about 25 to 30 minutes to the next city either way.
Either way.
So it's us.
Right.
And so if parents want, something, they have to
drive.
I know that there are like maybe a handful of schools that do offer some kind of transportation from the other cities coming in. They only have so much space, right? And again, everything isn't for everybody.
Right.
So we needed something local. And again, because remember I told you before, when I was teaching at the elementary school, I was collecting data and I didn't know it.
Yes.
I just seeing that population, those 500 kids that I taught every single year and saw how that population was growing, I knew that our community, we needed this. We needed something here.
Yeah.
It can't be that everyone has to, and everyone can't do that.
Yeah.
Having to be home at a certain time to see the children off to school, having to be home when they're dropped off. I mean, it's just not conducive to like a typical work schedule.
Right.
So we needed something local for sure.
And I think it's amazing that you created that. I mean, really, truly, because I talk to a lot of families in other areas like yours, and they have no resources. They even to just try to get a provider to come to them, or to find a speech therapist or OT, even outside therapies they struggle with, because there's just not a lot of accessibility in their area. So I think it's great that you're doing this, and I hope that it starts a trend in your area to bring more providers in to help with some of those external therapies and things like that the kids do need, for sure. You know, for parents listening who are struggling to find the right educational environment for their child, you know, I've wanted to ask you this, you know, what advice would you give them? Because I know I've shared my journey all the time about Drayson's educational journey so far, but what advice would you have for parents who might be struggling with this? Like, I struggled for a while taking him out of public school. I'll be completely transparent.
Sure.
I was like, no, he needs to be with, you know, neurotypical and, you know, neurodiverse both combined. And I really struggled for a while, and I kept him in public school probably at least a year longer than I probably should have, to be honest with you. But it was an internal struggle for me. So what advice would you give for parents that maybe are struggling with that?
What I would tell parents is there are options. There are options. I didn't know about microschools really until I was looking to start one. Right? I didn't realize that that was a thing and that those were options.
It's not talked about. Yeah.
It's not. So there are microschools. There are, you know, other private, like larger private schools. There are options, and there are funding options as well. ESA is a big one. There's also STO for kids, which is scholarship through tax credit.
Okay.
So it's like fundraising, but scholarship through tax credit.
Okay.
So there are options, and there is funding available. And so I just want to encourage parents, you are your child's biggest advocate.
Yes.
No one knows your child like you do.
Yes.
And while we may have outside resources coming in for OT and speech and feeding therapy and PT and all the therapies, ABA and all, you know your child the best. You are their biggest advocate. You know what they need.
Yeah.
There are options out there.
Yeah.
And if one option's not a good fit, that's okay. There's another one.
Yeah.
Right? Everything isn't for everyone.
Yeah.
There will be an environment that is conducive to your child in the way that they learn best.
Yeah.
So I would just encourage them to keep pursuing that, finding something that is the best fit for your child and for your family.
Yeah.
But there are options. I just want to encourage them not to give up.
Yeah.
I'm an advocate for school choice, which means if a parent, you know, wants to keep their child in public school, go for it. When they're in public school, advocate for them to the 10th degree with their IEPs and everything that's on it. These are legally binding documents. And so if they're not meeting the needs of your child, you need to say something.
Yeah, which
the
was going to be
squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Which was actually going to be one of my next questions for you, is like, what advice would you have for parents that are advocating for their kids? Because same thing, like the IEPs, you bring up such a great point. I mean, I brought an advocate in to some of my IEPs in the beginning because I had to educate myself, and like you, I have an educational background. I taught in higher education for about half of a decade, but I didn't understand the jargon or how it was written or what they were doing. And so I had to really educate myself on that component, but I did bring in help for that. But you know, I realized that that's hard for some people to also find those resources. So in terms of advocating, like, do you have any, you know, golden nuggets that you could give our families listening today about structuring themselves when they're advocating for their kids?
So I never brought in an advocate when I was sitting in my child's IEPs. I was just there and then an advocate. But even then, even being in the education system, I didn't really know about IEPs until I had to deal with it. Right. And of course I had IEPs for like other students. I just knew, you know, what accommodations we were supposed to be giving them, but I didn't understand the legality of it all. And I don't know that a lot of parents understand that. These are legally binding documents. The school must adhere to this document. And then if they're not, you can take legal action. If not, you know, you obviously bring it up to them and let them know you need to be doing this or else. Yeah. You know, and I hate to make it almost sound like we're not trying to threaten anybody. Right. But we're trying to get these kids what they need. Right. And so if the school's not adhering, that's a problem.
Yeah. And that's where my heartbreak was when I went through our situation with Drayson. I really had a lot of heartache over that because I wasn't trying to fault the educators or anything like that. But I knew I had to hold their feet to the fire for Drayson because I knew Drayson wasn't going to get what he needed unless I was the one that was, causing a ruckus, if you will, for lack of better words, and really honing in on that IEP. And that was something that my advocate told me very early on, like that it was a legally binding document. And I never knew that because it's not like they outwardly let you know what your rights are.
It's not.
Right. No.
Why would
crazy,
they do that?
Right? It's so weird. So if parents are interested in talking to you about Dare to Be Academy, what's the best way that they can reach out to you?
So I can be emailed at daretobeacademy.com. You can visit I can be visited at daretobeacademy.com. That's our website. You can email me at daretobeacademy@gmail.com. We're on Facebook at Dare to Be Academy LLC.
Okay.
And we're on Instagram at, I believe, Dare to Be AZ.
Okay.
So you can find us on the socials and the things.
That's awesome. And
I would love to.
Yeah,
I'd love to chat with parents.
And for those of you listening, if you do have questions or comments for Ashlee, I will also list all of her details in the show notes as well. But I can't tell you how much I appreciate you for being here today and coming to talk with us. And I really hope that our listeners today were able to take a lot of golden nuggets of information from you. You are so inspiring and you have so much courage. And I commend you for all of your hard work and dedication. So thank you so much because you're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. If I can just share one quick thing.
Of course.
Just regarding the school and the community and the environment
Yes.
and the atmosphere
Yes.
that I'm trying to build and protect. I had a student join us last semester after having been to a lot of different schools, right? And as you know, with neurodiverse kiddos, sometimes they wear their emotions, like they wear the colors
Yes.
that represent the feelings that they have. And so I remember the parent shared with me when they brought them, I think it was like their second day. And up until then, they were like always wearing black.
Right.
Dark colors at any of the schools they attend, some of which were micro schools that, weren't able to meet their needs. And I remember when the mom was dropping off the student, and they said they came to me this morning and they said, Mom, I've always wore black, but I only want to wear colors at my new school.
Wow.
And then I cried in front of that parent.
Yeah.
And then she cried, and then we cried together.
Yeah.
But that was huge.
Because you know that it's an identifying of connection and emotion for them.
That was huge. The
That's
tagline
amazing.
for our school is dare to belong, dare to believe, dare to become. And so that's essentially is a succession in what it looks like for someone to come into who they're meant to be.
Yeah.
So if you feel like you'll belong, and if you feel like you do belong, then you are more apt to believe, right? Because you're comfortable trying new things,
Right.
and, sharing the things that you're interested in or things that you struggle with. So then if you start to believe in yourself, then you're on your way to becoming who you're supposed to be. And so that's all that I want to do at Dare to Be Academy is just really help to foster the gifts that I know that these kids have. They may learn differently, and that's okay. And that's what they're there for. That's what we're there for, to really try and cultivate an environment that is conducive to the way that they learn, so that they can flourish, so that they can thrive, and so that they can become who they're meant to be.
I think
do all the
that's so
wonderful things
amazing.
they're meant to do.
I love your mission. I love your vision. And I cannot wait to see where you're going to be in the next 5 years with this, because I am so excited to watch you grow and for this journey for you. This is absolutely amazing.
I'm excited.
Thanks again for being on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely.
This is wonderful.
Absolutely. Thank you. This concludes our episode for today. If you have questions, comments, or even a show topic that you would like to hear about, please feel free to send me an email at info@piecesformypuzzle.com. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram if you have not done so already, or feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you like what you're hearing, please spread the word so that we can continue to empower autism families, and feel free to give us a good rating on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, keep working on your puzzle, and remember, you don't have to have it all solved in a day. Take care.